Hi, this is Nick Jaworski, the co-editor of Leading Notes magazine, an online resource for all things music education, including this. This is my conversation with Matt McAndrew, who is a contestant on season 7 of The Voice. And to put this interview in context, we spoke on Wednesday, October 22nd, which is 2 days after the episode where he sings Yellow and during the battle rounds. So this interview had to be rescheduled for a variety of reasons, acts of God. There was actually a power outage at one point, but it was great to chat with him, and he was really kind and really knowledgeable, and it was great to hear about his experience as a musician, as a performer. And so we talk about his musical background, his informal and formal music education, his work as a music teacher, what it's like to rehearse for The Voice, what he's learned as both a professional and just as a musician, all kinds of things. And if you like this and are interested in looking at The Voice from a technical aspect or through a cultural aspect, please go to www.leadingnotes.org. We have been covering The Voice all season and sort of taking a look, so digging deep and understanding what's the show about, how does it reflect on music teaching, on culture, on our profession, all kinds of things. So this is my entire conversation with Matt, and it was great talking to him, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks. So, Matt McAndrew, thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, so first of all, congratulations on your Battle Rounds victory last night. I don't
Thanks so
actually
much, dude.
know when you recorded that. When was that?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm really allowed to
Okay.
specify.
That's
Um,
fine.
if you
But,
do some snooping, you'd probably be able to find out because people buy tickets and stuff and go to the tapings.
right.
But and actually, I honestly don't even remember. So
Well, it's probably been pretty crazy since then.
yeah,
But I enjoyed the performance, and I wrote about you a couple weeks ago. You have a power, and your pitch is just spot on, which is I think what resonated with Adam in the audition rounds. Like you can see him kind of wondering, you're a little nervous to start, and
right.
then once he heard that pitch and that tone, he was like, boom, turn the chair. And of course, you have this phrasing too, which I think is what everyone's responding to on the show. You have a very subtle, strong phrasing, which is great. This is just me nerding out to you
Appreciate
since
it, man. No,
since,
yeah,
since we're
that's
talking.
awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, as we talked about briefly before, you are the representative, whether you want it or not, or if anyone's paying
Ah,
attention, to music teachers, and for a couple of reasons. In the blind auditions, you talk about how somebody had suggested you audition for a scholarship to a music scholarship, and talk a little bit about that experience. Who was that? What kind of student were you? Were you involved in music at school?
sure. I was never involved with music at school, really. I mean, at like a grade school level, I played saxophone for like a couple of years. I'd always like when I was really really young, I'd mess around on like keyboards and pianos and stuff.
Hmm.
I started playing guitar when I was 11, just kind of messing around. But no, as far as in school, they never really. I mean, they never had guitar or anything, and I didn't sing really. So it was. But I did do art all throughout high school. Like I was in AP studio art and everything. But my stuff was kind of abstract, and I was always surprised that people liked it. But it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was the kind of thing where I was gonna like go to college for it or something.
Hmm.
So I honestly didn't like think I was even gonna go to college or know what I was gonna do. I mean, I wanted to do music at that point, but whatever. And yeah, I had started. I was always kind of like the class clown. That's my kind of default thing. Anytime I can't be the best at something, I just try to be the funniest at it. So like I still see it like I used to skateboard and stuff growing up, and so if I like go to the skate park now, like I like suck, right? And there's all these little kids like running circles around me, and so I would still like try to make them laugh or something now probably because that's like where my insecurities come out. But anyways, yeah. So I was once my grade stopped being perfect around like third grade, I started like just trying to be really funny and keep the class entertained. And and yeah, it was my junior year. I started making up these Christmas songs about my friend Dwight, who sat in front of me in class, and it was like the most wonderful Dwight of the year. I'm dreaming of a Dwight Christmas, all this stuff. And I made up T-shirts and I made like karaoke CDs, and like I would have never done it if it wasn't me being funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I came from a really big high school, and they let me sing at the Christmas assembly.
One of your songs to Dwight.
Yeah, I sung the most wonderful Dwight of the year, and like everybody loved it. Like the auditorium was packed. That was like the first real like performance I'd ever done, and like I just remember it was awesome. Like it felt so good, and then the school kind of found out that I could sing a little bit, and so they convinced me to do chorus my senior year. I did that, and that was like the first time I had any kind of instruction with singing, and that choir teacher helped me prepare an audition for UArts, and I did that, and then I didn't apply for a scholarship. They just gave me a they like if I got it was the only school I applied to. I didn't look at anything else. They accepted me and they gave me the most promising artist scholarship, which was great, and that's something I kept throughout my time at school. So yeah, it was a weird kind of. I honestly didn't know what was going to happen to me as far as like when it was time to go to college, I was like, man, I guess I should have done some music in school, huh? Because I kind of missed the boat, but luckily I was just able to get in for singing, and then.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So was it your music teacher who suggested that you audition? Was it your official bio says it's your counselor?
I think it actually was my guidance counselor at the time.
But was your response very much like that sounds great, or what, or what? How did you respond to this suggestion?
I was just kind of like, oh, all right. I don't know. I'm like a pretty easygoing guy. I don't know. I just thought I was gonna go to community college and like drop out and whatever. I was the guy who like. I always wanted to drop out of high school the whole time because I like was always hoping that somebody was going to call me up and be like, "You're going to go on world tour. You can't go to school." And like, obviously, it never happened. And like, I hoped for the same thing for like the majority of my college career and everything. And then I found out that if you stay in school long enough, they give you a degree at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't wind up dropping out, but.
So let's talk about this a little bit. So then. Talk to me about, and I know this is really nerdy, and I know that you're now
No.
on a TV show seen by 14, 15 million people, but talk to me about being in choir. What was choir
well,
like?
I mean, it was just it was like all kinds. I feel like there were kids in there who were really serious about it and who had been singing for a long time, and then there were kids who were just kind of taking it more casually as like an elective. Like I think for me that was just a cool experience to be surrounded by like kids who self-identified as vocalists at all or whatever. And it wasn't really until I got to college that I had any sort of sense of like being part of like a vocal community. Like so for me I was it was like my freshman year of college as a voice major was all about being comfortable enough to self-identify as a singer. Because up till that point, like I wouldn't even sing in front of my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was always really shy about it, and I started out playing guitar, and I started out writing songs, and I was in a band in high school, and I was always like, well, I think I can probably sing. Like I just thought like if I need to do that, that'll probably happen. So then I had to work on it, but it was always like from like a band. When I came to UArts, that's really where. I went from just having sort of a knack for music and everything to learning some theory and learning like music. Like musicianship was really my that was always like my favorite class, and I would always do pretty well, and just learning about intervals and being able to hear chords and stuff, and that came really naturally to me. Something like theory I always did well on, but like sight singing or anything like that I was never that good with because like I couldn't read music at all when I came to college to be a voice major. So but that was probably the most fun thing about my college experience initially, at least, was just like learning that there were names for things that I had already sort of worked out in my
Right.
head, and then being able to communicate with other people. And it was just really, really awesome.
So your college time, it's interesting because I think that obviously there's a lot of great vocalists on The Voice. I mean, a lot of people who can really sing.
Totally.
Particularly on the night that you were on, I forgot if it was what night of the Atlanta auditions it was, but it was actually your general sort of. I felt like that you had a very specific plan for your song, in terms of like how it was phrased, how it was shaped, and I felt like that. I can't remember her name, but that it really came across as the two people who had been trained by a college
Oh, I see.
had a very specific approach. When you were preparing for that, the blind audition, I'm sure there's a screening process before that,
Hmm.
but for that song,
Yeah.
did you really sit down and shape out? I mean, is it a really specific process to prepare?
Yeah, I mean, I knew exactly what I was doing. Like, I knew the exact lines I was trying to trace for my performance, and I'd run it a bunch of times. And I mean, and I mean, just for the record, like, I'm glad that it went as well as it did, and people, um, people liked the blind performance. But I was like pretty depressed afterwards. Like, I didn't really count it as a good performance at the time at all. And I mean, it's hard because on one hand, like, I recognize at the time that it's not like I would take it back, but it's this huge opportunity where on one hand it's like it's great, but then on the other hand it's like it's the biggest thing you've ever done, so you want it to be the best thing you've ever done too. And like in my opinion, it certainly wasn't. And then
Let me stop you. What was it that was kind of bothering you? And I say that because I'm a nerd. I've listened to it several times.
cool. Yeah. I just thought like I mean, I appreciate that you thought the pitch was good. Like I thought it could have been way better.
Well, it started off a little shaky. I think it ended a little shaky. But like
Yeah.
when you had some air behind it, and as the
Yeah.
band backed you up, it was
And
really.
I guess the band was playing to a click and I wasn't. And in
Mm,
that beginning, I'm trying to follow along on guitar and play along to like a kind of a sparse piano part.
mhm.
So me being like a musician, I'm worried about people um, judging me as a guitar player and like wanting to make sure that like they think that I have some sort of pocket at all. And then as soon as I'm focusing too much on that, then like my vocals just start to go. And but then once I'm going to the chorus and it's like something strummy and there's like an actual like bass snare drum beat behind me, I was able to kind of open up a little bit. And then I have that weird love you for the weird yodel crack. I don't know. I think that was just nerves or something. I think it's funny, but
It's a big stage, and I think it went well. And I want to come back to the show itself in a second, but do talk to me a little bit about. Well, something you should know about me is that I talk a lot about alternative music education settings and
cool.
classes. So, like when I used to teach public school, I used to teach rock and roll methods, or I used to do songwriting or studio recording. And so, the work you do part time as a music teacher is also really interesting to me. So, tell me a little bit about what you do, how you got involved, the kinds of classes you teach.
Sure. So this was pretty soon after graduating UArts. I had a buddy of mine who was teaching at Bach to Rock, and it just sounded really, really, really interesting. Like I'd given him a ride down there one day, and I just checked out the space, and I thought it was cool, and tried to get signed up, and they had me come in and work, which was great. And yeah, it was just kind of my first foray in um, voice lessons, guitar lessons, and being a rock band director for the kids. Just cool because it was kind of like I I'd obviously had voice lessons throughout my time at college. I'd had some extra guitar lessons, and then I was part of the rock ensemble for almost my whole time there. So it was like a like a total uh, role
Reversal.
swap or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, reversal. Yeah. So
And so what? Explain what the school does. I mean, it sounds like it's a school of rock situation.
kind of, yeah. It's definitely geared more towards kids who are interested in like any kind of popular music, whether it be rock music or whatever, which is great for me. And I don't know. I think some of the cooler things they do is like just the fact that they have these student run bands. So for me, like the kids I was working with were anywhere from like 9 to like 12 in the like the band setting, and like
Mhm.
I just think it's really cool that they're getting that experience at such a young age, and they're getting used to playing with other kids and just like fleshing out the song structures
and it's an
then they have like
experience.
a little studio too, which is cool. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say it's an experience that you didn't have with any formal in any formal settings until you were sounds like you were in college. That
Totally.
you had
Yeah, yeah.
bands, you were playing guitar, and then you couldn't read music until you were 18. Not that
Right.
that's super important.
Yeah, and I'm still pretty horrible at it, but if you give
Well,
me like an hour, I can.
yeah, no, but you understand that it works. You know, we don't want to. I don't want to oversell. Obviously, being able to read music is important for some settings, but in other settings, you know, Paul McCartney can't read music. You know, I think he sort of picked it out as he got older, but he didn't need it when
Right.
he was being the man. So,
Right.
you know, but it is interesting that so you are providing an experience for students that you never had or felt like that there was a place for you within your school music program, correct?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
well, but I mean, interestingly enough, I will say like, um, I think fourth grade was the time where we were allowed to start playing something.
Hmm.
And I think I wanted to do violin, but I was worried it was like had like a girly stigma to it, so I just played saxophone. Really,
There
what
you
I
go.
wanted to do was play guitar, but they didn't offer it. And then as I moved along, I actually wound up being grateful that they didn't offer guitar because
Hmm.
I feel like if I'd had a bad teacher, I feel like it might have ruined it for me.
Yeah, so you appreciate that you just had your own space to operate.
Yeah, and then you get into that mindset where you're like, oh, I'm self-taught and whatever, and you think that like learning anything is gonna like tarnish your like creative mind or something, which is I found out to be kind of bullcrap. Like I all the stuff that I learned has been great, and it's only enhanced, because I mean, still, if I sit down to write a song, like I don't think about theory at all.
Hmm.
I just use my ears. But I think it is important then after the just kind of like the raw creative energies come out, then you can recognize what you've done, and you can see the patterns, and you can be like you can appreciate the song structures and the chords and the melody and everything.
So let's talk about, and again, I don't want to get you in any trouble. So let's talk about what you can talk about in relationship to the voice. So for the performance that was aired last night, you did Yellow,
Yeah.
and it looked like there's some process of rehearsal before you get in the room with the
Yep.
coaches. So is this something that you're told what you're going to sing? Did you and Ethan have time beforehand to rehearse? Like, how does that work?
Um, well, I guess what I can say is that for the battle rounds, the coaches picked the song, and that's even part of it. If you watch, like, I guess maybe they didn't show it for us, but when we walked in, I think Ethan was like, "So, why did you pair us together, and why did you pick Yellow for us, and whatever."
I don't remember what was in
Yeah, I
there.
don't think that was in our segment either. But yeah, so that's like a coach decided thing. Both the pairing and the song. Me and him were both really happy about it. We both loved the song, and yeah, I felt way better about that performance than I did my.
Oh, I would agree that it's stronger.
Yeah, I think at the time the way that I felt about my blind is that it was good if I had never performed before. And then my battle was like I actually felt like I was able to show some of the band experience that I have from like a showmanship standpoint of the little jump that I do
Hmm.
or like the part where the things were kind of getting weird with the band, and so I turned around before we all came in for the chorus, and I counted everybody off to make sure everything was cool, and that's not stuff I don't think about. It's just
Yeah.
the same thing I would do if I was gigging around or whatever. So
So, but in terms of the rehearsals themselves, though, I mean, how long did you spend with, Stevie? I mean, here you are in a room with Stevie Nicks. I love how you say hello, Stevie Nicks, like you have to say her
yeah,
full name.
don't laugh at that. I didn't like remember doing that. I thought it was so funny that I was like,
But
it's like a Jason Segel type of like, hello, Stephen. Like, it's funny.
so, how long did you spend in that space in that rehearsal? Like, I'm sure they do it all in a day. They kind of churn through them all.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, and I think that's probably something that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Okay.
Um,
And then your time, and I'm sure that there's rehearsals that occur, you have to be on the space, on set because I'm sure it's all there. But did you and Ethan spend time? It looks like you spent time away from the coaches, like rehearsing together.
Totally, yeah. Well, because the great thing was, and that's even how the kind of guitar arrangement came about, is just me and Ethan were roommates, and it was the most natural thing. Both found out we were gonna do Yellow, came right back to the room and just opened up the guitars and just both started playing, and like it just was kind of a simultaneous like, oh yeah, cool, you know what I mean? um, so that was really cool. Just nice to be rooming with him, and the fact that we could both play, like it's like you don't need to rehearse to a track or anything, and we were just able to kind of shape it on our own, and that's really just what came naturally.
Do you look at, because of course, here's what I know about Matt McAndrew based off of television. I know that you love your mom.
Right. True.
I know that you were a class clown, self-identified, which you mentioned here, but also I think is very indicative of a certain kind of student who is smart, insecure, and doesn't quite know where they belong. Is that a fair description of you in high school and middle school?
I don't know.
This is teacher brain. If like you see students.
No, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying. Like the part where the insecurities come from is like, I guess why I remember like a specific F I got on like a social studies worksheet in third grade, and that was like a defining moment for me where I'm like,
tell me about that. That like, so you got an F.
Yeah, I think I just messed up. I don't know. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. Like I never gotten that kind of a grade, and I was just like, and like my sister is very academic minded, very smart, and like so she was the one who went to like UPenn, and so we were both in Philly together or whatever. So she kind of was able to maintain that perfect student kind of thing, and I always just hated doing homework and stuff or whatever, but yeah, no. I don't think it was so much like in the beginning. It was just about like being okay with not being perfect. I think that's where the like if you said like something about being insecure or something. But for the rest of it, I've always just been real chatty. And like if I'm sitting next to one of my friends or something, like I just can't help myself. I think it's more of like having just like just excited about life in general, and I just wanted to talk the whole time.
But so, do you feel that you are being represented as the Matt McAndrew that you know on The Voice? And I say this is not a critique of the show. I'm not go. This is not. It's not a critique of the show. Obviously, they only have totally. Seconds to show you, literal seconds.
No, no. I couldn't be happier with the way that they portrayed me and my family. I think there's been a lot of attention to detail, and I think they really like respectfully presented my video segment, and I'm really happy about it. And I think there's a kind of it's still a funny show, and there's all the coaches have fun. They say I look like Harry Potter or something, and it's funny, and I get a laugh out of it. But I appreciate the respect that I'm given, and they kind of frame it, and I think it's more of a serious light.
Yeah, I had never watched The Voice before this season, and I've got two quick questions. What was that?
I said same, man.
Oh, well, wait a minute. That's a great question. How did you end up on The Voice?
Well, I found out it was going to be there was going to be an open call in Philly for season 7, and my best friend Matt was just like the one who kind of convinced me that I needed to try out. And I just turned 23 at the time, so for me, like that means I'm like over the hill. You know what I mean? And I like worry about getting older, so I'm like I gotta do something. So like that was kind of the motive behind it. But I will say that like from that point or whatever, like this is kind of like me asking myself a question, but well, Matt, is there any whatever? But as far as like looking to the show, and like I've scoured YouTube for all the clips I could find or whatever. But I remember seeing Christina Grimmie's blind audition, and I'm like really blown away. And I remember like showing my mom and showing my sister and like showing my buddy Kevin, and just like I'd never seen anybody like use the stage to give such a stellar performance. I thought that was a great performance, just like not within the confines of the show, but just in general. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so I was really blown away from it. I think that was what kind of like inspired me to really want to be a part of it, because I'm like, oh, cool. You know, I could really respect what she did as far as like a stage presence thing goes.
So, just real quick, what is the obviously, you get this opportunity to work with Adam Levine. You had this feedback directly on stage with some of the other coaches, and Pharrell, who I think that his experience as a producer comes across in the things he says, that he has this ability to communicate with other artists in very sort of
Sure.
organic ways. But what have you learned now? Here you are, you're 23, over the hill apparently, and
Well, I'm actually 20. I'm actually just turned 24 now.
oh, okay. So you're 24 now. So it's over. It's all over. But what have you learned?
That's it.
What have you learned through this process in terms of your own musicianship and things that you've really focused on since this all began?
Oh man, I mean, it's been such a tremendous experience for me as far as I mean, it's the richest, best music collective that I've ever been a part of. I mean, coming from like nothing to going to U Arts was big, as far as being surrounded by musicians and being in a room with like 110 other singers who can like all sing on. I'm like used to like going to a birthday party at my grandma's house and like having it be like a Charles Ives like eight-tone masterpiece or something.
You get points for a Charles Ives reference.
I appreciate it. But yeah, see, I did go to college for
You
music.
did. That's the only way you would know that.
Right. But yeah, no, I mean I think so from my small town beginnings to UArts, that leap it was just as great coming from UArts and being a part of something like The Voice, is like, because the amount of talent vocally on the show from the word go, and not only that, just like there's this shared like even just being around other guys that like have a fashion sense and like care about how they style themselves and how they that are business minded and who write and who, like, just people who are really in the same kind of in the same position as me and are there because they are similar to me in ways that would make them audition for The Voice and then make them get accepted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just so excited to be like part of The Voice family, and it's such a positive experience. And then even just on a vocal level, like somebody asked me, like about my formal vocal training, and like, so they was kind of ruling that out as to a reason why I'd want to be on the show. But honestly, I've learned so much, just even as far as just pure vocal technique since I've been on here. From learning from a coach to working with other contestants, like it's been really, really great.
Now, before we go, I do want to give props to, I think, one of the big members of The Voice that no one ever talks about is that band.
Oh yeah, they're phenomenal, man. They're phenomenal.
There are times when I am convinced, during the blind auditions especially, that the judge, I mean, clearly those coaches they're world famous and they're talented, but I think there were times that they were confusing like a performance from the vocalist with just how hard the band was bringing it. I think that band sounds great. Do you ever get to just like hang with them, or are they just off on their own being?
Just through like doing rehearsals and stuff, and you get to kind of know the people in the band. And I'll walk in and I'll be like, "Hey Matt, what's up?" And you get to go say hi to them and stuff. And no, they're all really, really cool. And yeah, I think going into the blind process, that was something like doing like rehearsals. That was something that when you'd have your first band rehearsal or whatever, like we were all kind of like giddy and like, oh my God, they sounded so good. They were so great or whatever. So no, that's been a tremendous privilege to be able to work with those guys. They're all awesome.
All right. Well, Matt McAndrew, well, let me try again. Matt McAndrew, which is a fun name.
Very cool.
Thanks so much. Good luck on the show. I'm sure, we live in a world where you know more than I do. And hopefully we can check in again. I'd really like to. I don't know what your life looks like.
I would totally be happy for that, sure.
And but just know that us music teachers are rooting for you.
I appreciate it, man. It's good to be able to make a Charles Ives reference. And
That's great. All right. Thanks, sir.
And then actually, no, seriously, if you want to talk again, I would love to talk about knockouts and whatever, and
Yeah,
maybe we can
let's
dig in
let's
from more of a technical vocal standpoint.
yeah let's count on it.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
thank you, sir.
See you, man.
See you.